Welcome to 2021. Made it through. It is now January 2021. This is the monthly town hall for Concrete. Uh, got me, Franz, Andy, and Corvin here to tell you all about the exciting news in the world of our open source content management system. So let's jump right into the news. Ooh, get my headset on, right? What do we got? 8.5.5 release candidate has been out for a while now and seems to be well received. I think there's a couple of little tweaks that we're going to do before we call it a official release, but that should be happening soon and shortly, something like that, right, Andy?
Yeah. Yep, that is correct. Yeah, we got a little bit of GitHub activity, but the big things that we had hoped were addressed by this seem to be addressed by this, and we definitely don't want to do another release. So we're trying to get the little things here and there that people still report into this one if they're not too big. But yeah, definitely getting ready to pull the trigger on that.
Nice. Moving right along. We'll be talking a lot more about this today. The new community site and new marketing plan, lots of new stuff for us this year. If you are interested in helping us build that out and really make it compelling, please fill out this beta team form. This is in the blog, easy to find. Fill this out and we will get you into what we are making early. Talk more about this in a little bit. There's basically two ways that you can do stuff when you've got an existing website, which we certainly do. You can kind of change things out underneath it as you go. Effectively popping a wheelie and changing the tire on your bike as you ride, or you can buy a new bike and climb off of one seat onto the other. And we are taking the second approach as much as possible. So there will be new stuff coming out here in the coming months that we can play with and start to really beat up and make sure it's compelling. And then as we all believe in it, we can start to kind of focus our energy over there and start to deprecate some of the old stuff. So we're looking for the most organic and kind of gradual process that we can do there. And we would love some help from you all to play with that new stuff. So go fill out this form. Last piece of news that I have is we are launching a technically a pretty small feature, but I think strategically kind of a cool idea. In our docs, there is going to be a little thumbs up, thumbs down, did you find this page helpful widget on the bottom of every doc page. And we are using that to help guide our efforts on improving the content within documentation. We relaunched the docs, I don't know, midway through last year, and launched a bunch of new kind of mid-level, hey, here's how we think about approaching problems as a developer in Concrete. And I think that's been great, well received, but it's also, as with many things, 70% done. So there are pages in the new docs that simply are kind of, for placeholder only, and there are sections that could use more content. There's probably sections that are redundant. And we are in a position now to spend more of our time flushing that out, and we could use your help pointing to the pages that are really popular and need that love. So look for that. We will be counting the thumbs up and thumbs down and building a score we call the DDS score for the Do Docs Succeed, and looking at that percentage week over week, month over month to see kind of the efforts that we are putting into this. How are they panning out? That's the news as I know it. Moving right into thank yous. I'm going to do this in reverse order. If you didn't know, we have a karma and badges system built into concrete5.org where people win points for helping one another, promoting the project, and doing work. Every week we take give everybody a raffle ticket for every point they've earned, randomize it, and choose a winner from the top 10 that isn't the same person as last week. So this week, I'd like to thank Quorum10, who won a copy of the domain mapper for helping people. Ramgurg, who won a copy of the domain mapper for promoting the project, and Lil, that won a copy of the domain mapper for doing work. So thank you to all those folks and everybody else as well who is doing stuff in the community. Um, Super cool to have the help, and I hope you all fill out that beta form and help us as we are building out the new community so we can make it have all of the good stuff from the old one and be even better. Do we want to talk about GitHub and Docs, Andy? Do you have some things there?
Sure. I do, yeah. In GitHub, we've got thank yous to BitterDev, Fabian Bitter, Daniel Keller, Deke87, Hissy, Corvin Santo, Lawrence 53, Manio, Mark Bennett 1973, and M. Locati. A lot of these names will be familiar to you because a lot of these people just are very, very helpful month in, month out. Thank you for all your help with this stuff, especially getting this 8.5.5 release together, and making sure as we do this release that certain things get added not only to this release but also to the ongoing version 9 stuff. Making sure that those changes happen in all the places they need to be is very, very helpful. It saves us a lot of time, so thank you all so much. And then on the docs side of things, big thank you to OB7, Evan Cooper, Jessica Dunbar. Jessica, I actually, there's a recent how-to from you, and it was the first one that I used the new thumbs up functionality on.
Oh,
so,
hell yeah.
Yeah, so that you know what, that doc succeeded. So
Nice.
yeah, so thank you everybody, and and we'll keep at it.
Evan's team's getting a hundo on the DDS right now until people get in there and thumbs everything down since I announced it. Cool. And apparently, thank you, Andy. You did something in Docs too on this list.
I'm not entirely sure what that was, maybe, but
I'm sure you did a good job.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.
I also wanted to thank Fabian and OB7 for donating licenses to the Karma machine. We have to give away an add-on. One of the things we're talking about in the new community is what else can we be giving away beyond just add-ons and themes. So that's going to be kind of cool. But in the meantime, it's a great way to get other members of the community to know about your add-ons and themes. There's 150 themes and 700 some add-ons in the marketplace. It's hard to know what they all do and how great they all are. So if you've got one and you're thinking, gee, I wish people would pay more attention to what I got, this is a good way to get it in front of kind of some of the rock star players in our ecosystem, because that they're doing work promoting the project and helping. And so having a copy of your add-on to tinker with is probably a good play. So if you're interested in that, reach out to Mike, MYQ. You can find him on the community or in Slack, and he'll happily take as many of your licenses as you want to give away, and we would appreciate it. Any other news or thank yous that I'm missing? I feel like that's pretty much all I know, right?
I think so.
Cool. Yeah, it's been a reasonably subdued December. Excited to get things moving. So for this month's town hall, we're going to switch it up a little bit. I'm not going to show off a concrete5 site in the wild. We are instead going to go through a kind of a lightweight and abbreviated version of some marketing strategy that we've been doing here at the end of the year. I know a lot of the kind of old school rockstar players in concrete land are very excited for us to be pivoting away from our services work and focusing on rebuilding the community, as are we. And there's a lot of questions around, well, how do you think about it? Who is it for? What are we doing here? So I have a bit of a presentation. It won't be too long, but it will show you a little bit more about how we think about our role, your role, the larger ecosystem, what we're doing, and it actually will include some comps for the new site stuff. So buckle up. Let me start at the beginning and not the end. There we go. Sweet. Are we firing on all cylinders, Corvin?
We sure are.
I love it. All right, so we're going to talk today about who we're trying to help and what do they need. We're going to talk about how we find them and what and how we are offering them to make their lives better. Really, the most important thing is what is the pain point that we solve with concrete. And when we first went open source, and I would have to explain this to people, I would very blithely say, oh, we're ubiquitous. It's like a screwdriver. You can use it to build a doghouse or a skyscraper. It's just for websites. And that's not insane. I mean, that's certainly WordPress's shtick and it works for them, but it's not a great answer for marketing. Like being able to have a little bit more focus and kind of target in on, hey, we're sure you can use this for anything, but we're really focused on this is kind of what we're shooting for. Definitely want to qualify that with does not mean that we aren't excited for people to build doghouses or skyscrapers just because we say our screwdriver is for this, for a house, whatever, something in the middle. Just means that with a little bit of focus, we're going to have an easier time spending a marketing budget, kind of tightening up our messaging, just making it appealing to someone at a glance. There's a lot of products in the space, and having a little bit more of clarity around who gets a lot of value out of it will help us. So when we're honest with ourselves about that, the folks who we see using Concrete kind of fall into two main silos. On the one hand, there are people who build websites for a living, right? Freelancers, small web shops, medium-sized web shops, folks who are finding work and delivering complex websites that are easy to safely manage. That's a huge part of our audience, is a huge part of the kind of active community members. It's certainly where we come from, right? We started as a full service interactive media shop back in the aughts. So those are our people, and that makes a lot of sense to us. On the flip side, we also see a lot of website managers with a team, right? This is a product or a project manager that is running a website or a few websites, but they are trying to empower their people to do more on their own with ease. They're responsible for a web presence. Maybe they're corporate, maybe they're in education, maybe they're in government. We've got clients across the board that way, but they are more of a site owner. And there's differences between those two sets. We can subdivide these and have into much more focused user personas, but I think for today we'll just keep it pretty high level. Freelancers and web shops, we're going to call this person Agency Aaron. They are looking for an editing experience clients will love. They're looking for a framework that follows modern standards, that's a joy for their developers to work in. They want to be able to host the site in a safe and smooth way that doesn't get them in trouble. They need it to be easy to get going, so that's good documentation, training programs, a marketplace of stuff so they're not always starting from scratch, and a job board so they can find people to help. And what they get out of a CMS that delivers all that is happier clients who can do more on their own with less training. Most shops are not excited to be doing all of the content edits for their clients because the CMS is intimidating. Would rather have a client doing stuff on their own and then calling you for the bigger problems. Many shops work on fixed bids. So if you can build things quickly, and that fixed bid is value-based, so client needs a website, they're willing to spend X. If you can get it done faster with Concrete, that's value. Not having to worry about running servers, that's value. And really being able to focus on the creative parts of your job, the design side, hey, we're going to build this feature that's going to help your business improve side, and less on the busy work. That's some of the benefits that Agency Aaron is looking for. The way Agency Aaron is going to make a choice on a CMS is they're looking for rockstar developers that like the code base, right? So it's all well and good for us to say this is amazing, but that third-party content that's out there, the positive testimonials about the user experience, but really it's when someone like Corbin, who kind of represents best practices from a developer standpoint, says, hey, we should be using this. It's a real joy, and we could do a lot more. That makes someone in my shoes go, well, okay, I guess we should maybe take a look at that and pivot. Industry news, like analysts, like that's kind of interesting, but more from kind of the less from the Gartners and more from kind of Next Web and folks like that, like a little bit more bloggy, a little bit less analysts. Conversely, a website manager with a team, we're going to call him PM Parker. Notice my unisex names. They actually want a lot of the same stuff. If I go back and forth between these slides, you can see a lot of stuff doesn't change, right? They don't really care about the coding framework, but they do like our permissions and workflow. The marketplace is cool. It needs to be full of stuff that's safe to use, but they definitely want stuff that's in there, but it just needs to be enterprise ready. They're not making money, they're saving money, but they're looking for many of the same features, the similar benefits of, well, they're saving time and working on more creative stuff. They can offload content population that they used to have to do themselves to their staff, right? But if you're thinking about somebody who runs a website that has a dozen people that they're working with, it's very similar. They have very similar challenges to the shop that is trying to kind of offload some of the content population to their client. Social Proof is a little different. They're looking for big names that use the platform. They're looking for kind of approved shops and a partner program, a certification, something where they know, look, I'm not going to get in trouble for hiring these people. They've been blessed somehow. And they are more interested in kind of the analysts and the review sites out there, the Trust Radiuses and G2s, all those kind of software comparison sites are interesting to them. And, so is Gartner's Magic Quadrant. And like you notice on our homepage now, we've got an infograph from softwarereviews.com about how we rank against other CMSs. They like that social proof, makes it feel like, look, I'm not going to get in trouble for choosing this because other people like it. So we can subdivide these further and get more into specific verticals where a product manager, Parker, sits that we do well in, and we have, but I'm not going to go on and on and on about kind of how we size up the market. And I will just stress that, like, these are broad buckets, and this is an exercise in thinking, hey, who do we do particularly well with? This isn't us saying, if you're not one of these two types of people, Concrete isn't for you. This is simply us trying to articulate with a little bit more focus, here's who we see succeeding really well with our product. So that said, what have we done in the past to promote concrete5? It's no secret, not a lot. We proudly have talked about the non-existent marketing budget that we've had, and everything's word of mouth, and rah, that's really cool. But everybody thinks that our product is a lot better than the size of our audience shows. So this year we're changing that. We're going to be spending some real money in marketing, and so we're asking ourselves, what are the channels that we have used and how successful are they? So organic content, something that we've always done. We used to do a lot more of. I used to be a lot more vocal on the blog and the forums, where there used to be more of an effort to reach out to bloggers and get them to review the CMS. Certainly in the early days, we were doing a lot of that, and we saw good activity from that. The listing sites and the analysts, there again, that's good. We know that we have closed projects because we were on, such and such marketplace of CMSs or that listing site or this listing site. So those listing sites are somewhat out of date, and that's on our list to update, but sure, those work. We've gone to events and conferences as well. That's drummed up interest. I don't know if I can attach a specific gig that we've closed with it, but it's certainly something that we've spent money on. We have that awesome elephant costume, so cool. These are channels that I can look at and say, well, we've spent money on it. I don't think having stickers is really a channel. Right? I'll send you stickers if you ask, but that's just cool. A good thing to kind of think about is, where do we find that product manager, Parker? Well, a lot of them have come from web shops, right? It's not uncommon for someone to build a site for a larger client that says, look, this is great. I like the CMS, but we need hosting at a certain compliance level, or I want to be able to call someone when the agency is off on the weekend snowboarding, and I just want to know it's being done right. Or can somebody else manage the upgrades of this thing? We're happy to build it, but we don't want to have to fuss with it over time. We have had any number of clients come that way. And so if we're really thinking about, look, what channels are out there, and how are we going to invest what for us will be a large marketing budget, but still very limited comparatively. Thinking of web shops as a channel is pretty compelling. And so the way we start to see it is kind of like this. Our job is to facilitate the relationship between the agency Aarons and the PM Parkers. And this is not rocket science. You know, if you've watched any of my videos or heard me demo concrete, you will remember me saying, look, good CMS is about enabling this relationship. There's people who need to run the site. There's the people who need to build the site. We need to make decisions that are good for both and find a balance between. And I feel like we do a pretty good job of that in the CMS and the code base and the feature sets. But I think we may have lost sight of that a little bit in terms of our community site and our own product offering and some of the efforts that we've put in there. So we've been really pivoting to focus on this idea of, look, if we can empower the agency Aarons of the world so they can build better projects for the PM Parkers, then we create this circle of life. So in other words, PM Parker is our ideal customer profile. Agency Aaron is a sales and integration partner, and big wheel keeps on turning. Everybody makes money and everyone's happy. How do we make money in that? Well, we want to sell a lot more hosting. You know, in the past, we've done a lot of big services work. Right? Everybody knows that we've been doing all this huge project work for the Army, and it's been really awesome. And we've got it, by and large in sustainment mode, and they're very happy, and we're very happy. It is difficult to be a big services shop and a big product shop at the same time. So we are eager to pivot away from doing a lot of those services ourselves and instead be more of a matchmaker, right? And we've started to do this with other projects that come our way, where we will work with a partner to do the design, to do the chop, to do the build out, to do most of the client management. And we just kind of show up to make sure things are being built right, that if there's a compliance concern, that we're meeting that compliance concern, that code has had a security review, that when somebody pushes code to the server, it's being done in a safe way, kind of manage the compliance, the DevOps, and the maybe you should have built it this way type stuff, but not really have our hands in the day-to-day or the the vision of what is being built. We don't want to be everything to everyone, and that's for y'all. Also, marketplace extensions. Certainly, the marketplace has been a very important part of what we do in the past, and I hope to be a huge part of what we do in the future. I think there's some changes in the licensing models that will make that more compelling for everyone. But these are the kind of the things that we look at selling. This is the value that our ideal customer profile needs, and I think there's lots of opportunities for agency Aaron partners to do well in here too. So it is our job to help people who come to our site, leads who come to Concrete, become customers who buy hosting extensions and services from our agency partners, and that's really what we're trying to focus on this year. All the new community stuff that we're doing is towards that end. And in thinking about that, we have come to a realization that is probably a bit of a duh to everybody else, but took us a while to get there. In that we really need two different sites. The .org site that many open source projects have really speaks to engineers, web shop owners, the people who are building those sites and are looking for, what does this do as a platform? Please don't sell me anything. I'm just looking for what this does as an open source platform. Whereas the .com is really speaking to that, PM Parker who just needs a website to serve a larger communication goal. And they may be enthusiastic that it's open source and there may be value to them in that, but they're really looking for what is the least painful way for me to prove that this works and show some value. Most of our competition kind of got this in a way that I think we actually initially did, but then scaled back from probably before anybody noticed and said, oh, no, we just want one web presence that does everything for everyone. And that has made it, I think, challenging to know, like, well, what message am I supposed to say, right? When somebody comes to concrete5.org today, who are they? I mean, and you kind of have to bifurcate your message in a way that is not that compelling. By having two different landing pages that are complementary, or landing sitelets, if you will, that lets us really kind of go in each direction. Turn the .com into a sales funnel that helps PM Parker, turn the .org into an information portal that helps Agency Aaron, and not let the messages compete. So the way that's starting to look, and I will preface this with these comps are in the final-ish stage. Some of this has actively been built and chopped and done. Some of this is still being worked on. So don't be surprised if they change a little bit. But you can see on the left, we've got a .org site that is a little tighter in line height. It's got a dark navigation and header. It's just a little bit more software-y and subdued, dark mode for developers. On the right, we've got a .com that is a little bit bright, a little bit more, lightweight and space airy, and a little bit more for the PM Parker. And that translates into a different homepage type treatment. So on the .org, you can see just the messaging becomes much clearer. We can talk about features. We can talk about the growing community. We can talk about how you can build all sorts of different stuff with it. Whereas on a .com, we can talk about powerful permissions and that it's secure and supported. And there's some stuff that's the same. In context editing is kind of one of our core features that we do really well. But like awarded first place in web experience management is much more interesting to a PM Parker than it is an Agency Aaron. So again, there's no reason that people can't have both hats on, that you won't go back and forth between either. But for us, having these different places where we can really focus on having a compelling story, being able to tell a message that has a beginning, middle, and a get started end, if you will, that's a big change. So we're pretty excited about that. And you can see how that would make a huge impact. So today, when you click, get started on one of these, or set up a trial, you end up at a trial page on our site where we make you create an account in the community where we have a huge drop-off rate. And then we make you wait through a kind of a long pause, and we dump you into this trial that really just puts you into the dashboard of an Elemental site, which is weird. In the future, we just reduce the pain points on that and really focus on, what is this PM Parker looking for, right? What kinds of sites do we see people building with concrete? We see a services marketing site would be Elemental, right? If you think about our kind of default template, that's it's a services marketing company. There's a portfolio, there's a what we do, that kind of stuff. We see a lot of intranets being built with concrete. So not SharePoint. If SharePoint's your filing cabinet, think of this as more like a well-designed operation manual, right? You want to kind of lay things out, maybe even a little bit sexier than what you would do with Confluence or Notion. But you want to have a site that is kind of best practices and documents that your staff is going to find right out of the gate. We've built that kind of thing for large clients. Product resource site is something that we've seen a lot of. If you're a manufacturing company, you're not really trying to build an e-commerce site as much as kind of an information portal about your products. You can do that with stock concrete without even really using many, if any, add-ons. Why don't we configure that as a starting point, let you choose that, and then dump you into a site that is pretty close to solving your needs, right? Like, people don't have a lot of time to start tinkering around and go, gee, if I add these blocks and I do this and that and the other, I could probably. Why don't we take some of that pain out of it for them? So it's easier to say yes to concrete. And of course, we can't build everything for everyone, and it is a framework for building websites. So we would always have something special, which is just going to give you a form field of, hey, we're going to dump you into a blank install, but why don't you tell us what you're looking for? And then we can follow up with you and do some new marketing automation stuff that we're already using. We can start to say, look, what is that special thing that you're making, and let us help you connect you to a partner that we know could build it for you, or we actually know that there's something out there in the community that's pretty close to it. So we can start to do almost matchmaking kind of services. Think of us as your matchmaker. Let us find a client that has a budget and has a need and kind of fits what you do as a shop. We made it. Last slide. So takeaways from this this presentation. Some things that you may have noticed. I'm just going to straight up call out. It's no longer concrete5. So we were concrete CMS way back in the early days when we started, back in first version ever, 2003 with concrete CMS. We went open source. We renamed it concrete5 with a lowercase c, with a cool backstory about how this was the 5th major version and yada yada. That was really fun and compelling, but we are far from the 5th major version, and that lowercase c kills me. So we are hello again, concrete CMS. Shouldn't be a complete shocker. You'll see actually concrete CMS on various pages on our site today, but this is a transition that is going to be happening over the over 2021 here. We'll be gradually calling ourselves concrete CMS and concrete as opposed to concrete5. Another takeaway is, .org for open source.com for commercial. So one user base. I don't even know if there'll be sign up on .org. I don't know. As I look at our notes, there's probably a half a dozen or more different actual sites or like code bases, right? So it's like we've got it's kind of a single sign-on identity provider. We've got the marketing landing site for .com and a marketing landing site for .org. We've got forums, which we're using Discourse for. There's like different properties that all talk to each other. Most of them will end in .com because there will be some money involved. Some of them will end in .org because there's no money involved, and that's basically how that works. In terms of what you should expect from us, our vision is being the facilitator to help PM Parker choose concrete so agency Aaron can sell projects. So help us help you do that. That's what I'm spending our time on this year, and I think the whole team's really excited about it. And then the last thing I'll say in kind of this big picture strategy stuff is expect to see more time from us kind of with our feet in the dirt. Like there's a tendency, I think, for engineers to look at problems and want to build a solution to solve it for them, right? If you're a farmer and you're kind of bringing this engineer sensibility to it, you're going to look at this big field and think, well, the first thing I need is an irrigation system. And you're going to go out and buy $5,000 worth of hoses and attachments and start cutting stuff up. And we have certainly, that's cool. But at some point, you got to put some seeds in the ground and you got to just water the damn things, even if you're not doing it with your fancy irrigation system. So, to be, painfully authentic, I think we've been really guilty of that in the past of, seeing, we should have better docs. So let's build an amazing wiki thing on top of our own platform. It's like, or we could just spend time writing how-tos. So there is a pretty big strategic shift here in asking ourselves hard questions around, is this something that we need to build? Or is this something we can buy? And maybe it wouldn't be done exactly the way we would do it, but maybe that's okay. Like maybe somebody else knows something that we don't. And maybe if we focused the limited time that we have on really things that only we can do, the certification, the documentation, the connecting, helping someone comes to our site, actually convert into a customer and connecting them to a partner who can help. That is stuff that we can do with the tools we have today. We don't need a $10,000 irrigation system just to water our garden. If we can get the garden growing to a spot where it just takes so much time to water it that we're losing our minds, that is the time to go buy a bunch of hose and start tinkering around with an irrigation system. So just a strategic shift in thinking that I'm pretty excited about, and I think much of the team is excited about as well. And should start seeing stuff coming out of us in the coming months here pretty quickly. So again, I would say go fill out that form in the blog. I think it's a couple of posts back of do you want to be on the beta team? Because some of this stuff is already chopped and we're starting to tinker with it a little bit and would love to have more hands in there pointing out where our time should be focused. That is what I have today.
Nice.
On Showcase. Yeah, there you go. We have made it to the Q&A section of our presentation. Do we have any Q's today?
No questions that I've seen.
Perfect.
Unless there's some I don't see in the doc. We did get a lot of Happy New Year's, though.
Well,
Nice.
Happy New Year's.
It's kind of cool. We can show those on the screen here. We got one from Hamid Daraji. We got one from Ronnie Jesperson.
Oh, neat.
One from our very own Evan Cooper. Dimger also was in there, Wayne Stewart. And lastly, but not least, Jessica Dunbar starting it off with the first Happy New Year. But
Nice.
Well,
sure that's
New
to
Year.
us, but to everybody in the community as well. I'm sure from us, a Happy New Year to you guys too.
Awesome.
Looking forward to all the new exciting stuff.
Yeah, this is going to be a big year, as I was saying in a meeting yesterday. There's a few kind of red letter years in the concrete history of, well, this is when we first started, is when we went open source, and I think 2021 is going to be a similar year for us. So we're all pretty stoked. I am going to take this video when it gets posted and kind of queue it up at the marketing strategy part and stick it in the forum somewhere and actually, respond to forum comments in a timely, not immediate, but occasional fashion, because definitely want to make sure that everybody understands where we're coming from on this, and I'm eager to see if there are things that we've missed. So, I know this is a lot of information. Don't expect anybody to be able to form a very meaningful feedback right now, but I'm definitely interested in a larger picture. So I'll make sure that is, you can get at me for that. And unless anybody has anything else, I think that is our town hall.
It looks like we did get one question snuck in. I think this is one that we can answer quickly. Takeaway is number 4. I think this is in regard to, I honestly cannot remember what number 4 was, but I think this is in regard to the splitting up of the sites and the microsites. John the Fish asks, does that mean that C5 documentation will be moving to some kind of wiki, or will we be keeping that stack that we have for documentation?
Documentation will stay as it is for now. It is a wiki. I mean, you can go change those pages. So I don't see anything. What I think needs improvement with the documentation is the content.
Yes.
So that's what I'm going to be paying my people to fix. Happily, my people have been making quite a lot of content for the Army. The amount of training and videos and PDFs, and I mean, it's like we're running a newspaper at this point. So, and they love it. I mean, it has worked well. We have trained 200 admins to manage 80 sites and done it in fantastic fashion. So, I'm really proud of the work the team has done the last 3 months in getting that where it needs to be. Complicated stuff, and the client feels really confident with it. So, I'm confident that if we pivot their energy to going to look at pages in documentation, our own documentation that today are just woefully empty or underthought, that we're going to get big bang for the buck when it comes to making it easy for agency Aaron to say, yeah, this is a great platform. I can see how I would do this. I can solve my problems here.
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think that's the last one we got.
Awesome. All right.
Cool.
Well, again, I'll make a forum post. I know there's a lot to digest, and I don't expect anybody to be able to do that instantaneously. So there you go. Awesome. Very cool. Exciting. Happy New Year to everybody. And we will talk to you online and see you again early February.
Sounds good.